My name's Danielle Walker. I'm 42 years old, and 2 years ago, I thought I'd lost everything that mattered to me. My home, my business, my reputation gone.
Just like that.
But before I get into all that, I want to know something about you. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments below. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to tell you will change how you think about trust, family, and revenge. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was sitting in my cramped little apartment, the one I'd moved into after everything fell apart. The place smells like cheap coffee and the neighbor's cat that keeps sneaking in. My phone buzzed on the counter, and I saw a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored its spam calls, But something made me hit play. A man's voice came through, all crisp and professional. "Miss Walker," he said, "this is regarding the change in Monica's marital trust and the financial clause you requested." I froze. Monica? My sister Monica? And what clause? I hadn't requested anything. My heart started pounding, like it knew something my brain hadn't caught up to yet. I played it again, and that's when it hit me. They'd called the wrong Walker. Have you ever received a call or message that wasn't meant for you, but revealed something shocking? Tell me about it in the comments. I sat there, staring at my phone, my coffee going cold. Rage bubbled up first. Monica, my own sister. The one who'd smiled at me while she and her husband Troy took everything. The mountain house we'd inherited from Mom, the business I'd built from nothing, even my reputation in our small town. They'd twisted it all, left me with nothing but a pile of debt and a broken kid. My son Jack, he was only 15 then, and I'll never forget the way he looked at me when we had to leave that house. Like I'd failed him, like I'd let them win. But that voicemail? It was like a crack in their perfect little plan. Part of me wanted to scream, to call her up and demand answers. But another part, the quieter part, saw something else. An opportunity. What would you do if your own sister betrayed you like this? Fight back or walk away? Let me know your thoughts. I couldn't let it go. That voicemail was a loose thread, and I had to pull it. So I started digging. I hired a private investigator, this guy named Carl who smelled like cigarettes and had a handshake like a vice. "You sure about this, Danielle?" he asked me, leaning back in his creaky office chair. "Once you start, there's no going back." I told him I was sure. I had to know what Monica and Troy were hiding. That voicemail wasn't just a mistake. It was a window into their lies. I started piecing together a plan, slow and careful, every step deliberate. They thought their betrayal was over, that they'd won. They were about to learn what it feels like to lose everything. Do you believe in karma, or do you think sometimes you have to create your own justice? Comment below with your philosophy. Here's the thing. This isn't just a story about what they did to me. It's about what I did next. What you're about to hear is a story of betrayal, manipulation, and ultimately, justice. Monica and Troy thought they could bury me, leave me broken in that tiny apartment with nothing but memories of what I'd lost. But they didn't know me. Not really. Subscribe if you believe that justice should always prevail over deception. Only those who don't believe in justice and fairness will scroll past without subscribing. Looking back, I can see how the seeds of all this were planted way back when Monica and I were kids. Growing up, it was always the two of us in our little house in Cleveland, with its chipped blue shutters and the backyard swing Dad built. Monica was the golden child, no question. She had this laugh that could charm anyone, and our parents, God love them, they couldn't say no to her. She'd crash Mom's car, flunk a class, blow her allowance on clothes, and they'd bail her out every time. "She's just finding herself," Mom would say, while I scrubbed dishes to chip in for groceries.
Me?
I was the steady one, the one who got good grades, held down a summer job. Monica tried everything, fashion, acting, even a candle business that went bust in 6 months. I didn't envy her life, I pitied it. But I loved her. Or I thought I did. Do you have a sibling who is clearly the favorite growing up? How did that affect your relationship? Share your story. While Monica was chasing her next big thing, I was grinding through college, working 2 jobs, waitressing at a diner and tutoring kids in math. That's where I met Troy in business school. He was all charm, with this crooked smile and a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. We clicked instantly, staying up late dreaming about building something together. After graduation, we did. Our boutique design firm started in a tiny office with peeling paint and one creaky desk. I handled the creative side, logos, branding, interiors. Troy took care of the numbers. We poured everything into it, and slowly, it grew. We got married, had Jack, and bought the mountain house up in Asheville, a cozy A-frame with big windows and a view that made your heart stop. It was our retreat, our proof we'd made it. Jack loved it there, running through the woods, building forts. We were a team, or so I thought. Have you ever built something from nothing only to have someone try to take credit or steal it? Tell me about your experience. From the outside, we had it all. Our firm was thriving, winning awards, getting write-ups in local magazines. Troy and I had this perfect rhythm. He'd crunch the numbers, I'd bring the vision. We trusted each other completely. Our Instagram was full of those curated family moments, Jack grinning at the mountain house, Troy and me clinking wine glasses at some gala. People in town respected us, invited us to their fundraisers, asked for our advice. That mountain house became our symbol, the place we'd escape to when the world got loud. I'd sit on the porch with a coffee, watching the mist roll over the ridges, thinking, we did this. We built this life. When building a business or a relationship, how much do you trust your partner with the financial side? What's your approach to shared responsibilities? But then, things started to shift. Troy got distant, started saying he felt unseen. He'd stay late at the office, claiming he needed to catch up. I'd ask what was wrong, and he'd brush it off. Just stress, he'd say, pouring another glass of bourbon. Around the same time, Monica started showing up more. She'd moved back to town after her latest venture, a yoga retreat, tanked. She was always at our house, at our family dinners, laughing a little too loud at Troy's jokes, touching his arm when she talked. I'd catch these moments and feel this twist in my gut, but I'd push it down. She's my sister, I'd tell myself. He's my husband. At Christmas, she gave him a leather journal, said it was for his big ideas. I laughed it off, but something about the way she looked at him stuck with me. I should have listened to that feeling, but I didn't. Have you ever had a gut feeling that something was wrong but ignored it? What happened? Share your intuition stories. It all came crashing down one night in March. Jack was 15, sprawled out in the living room, doing homework on Troy's laptop because his own was acting up. I was in the kitchen, chopping onions for dinner, the smell sharp in the air. Jack was quiet, too quiet. I called out, "You okay, bud?" He didn't answer. I wiped my hands and walked over, and his face, God, I'll never forget it. Pale, like he'd seen a ghost. He looked up at me, his voice barely a whisper. "Mom," he said, "you need to see this." What Jack found that night would destroy our family forever. That night in March, everything changed. I was in the kitchen, the smell of onions stinging my eyes, when Jack called me over. He was sitting on the couch, Troy's laptop open on his lap, his face pale as the moonlight coming through the window. "Mom," he said, his voice shaking, "you need to see this." I walked over, my heart already sinking. He showed me the messages, dozens of them, between Troy and Monica. Flirty at first, little winks and inside jokes. Then it got worse. They weren't just talking about an affair. They were scheming about the business, about contracts, about moving money. "We'll cut her out clean," Monica wrote. "She won't see it coming." My stomach twisted. Jack looked up at me, his eyes wide, confused. "Mom, why would Aunt Monica do this to us?" he asked. I didn't have an answer. I just pulled him close, his shoulders trembling, and tried to hold it together for both of us. If you were a parent in this situation, how would you handle telling your child about this kind of betrayal? What would you say? I waited until Jack was asleep before I confronted Troy. He was in the garage, tinkering with some old radio like nothing was wrong. "Explain this," I said, holding up his laptop, my voice sharp enough to cut glass. He didn't even flinch, just leaned back, wiped his hands on a rag, and said, "I was going to tell you." No remorse, no apology. He told me he'd already filed for divorce, that the papers were ready. I called Monica next, my hands shaking so bad I could barely dial. She showed up an hour later, eyes red, crocodile tears streaming. "I never meant for it to go this far," she sobbed. "But I saw through it. The messages, the planning, it wasn't an accident. They'd been plotting this for months, maybe years. My own sister and my husband, working together to tear my life apart. What's worse, the betrayal itself or finding out it was premeditated? Have you experienced planned deception?" The next few weeks were a blur of devastation. I started digging into the business records, and that's when I found the forged documents. Contracts I'd never seen, rewritten with Monica's name on them. The mountain house, our mountain house, was gone, transferred to Monica through some shady deal I hadn't noticed. Troy had fed me a lie about a tax penalty, and I'd believed him, too busy with clients to check. I logged into our joint accounts one night, expecting to see our savings, our safety net. They were drained. Almost nothing left. I sat there in the dark, the blue glow of the computer screen burning my eyes, realizing they'd taken everything I'd worked for. Have you ever been financially betrayed by someone you trusted? How did you recover? Share your advice for others. It didn't stop there. Monica started leaking my private business emails to clients, twisting my words to make me look unhinged, incompetent. One by one, clients stopped calling. My inbox, once full of project requests, went silent. People in town started whispering. Friends I'd known for years picked sides, and most didn't pick mine. At the grocery store, I'd see their pitying looks, hear their hushed voices as I passed. "Poor Danielle," they'd say, like I was some broken thing. The humiliation burned, sharper than the betrayal itself. I felt like I was disappearing, piece by piece, in the town I'd helped build. When someone tries to destroy your reputation, what's the best way to fight back? Have you dealt with character assassination? I hit rock bottom in that tiny apartment we moved into after losing the house. The walls were thin, the carpet stained, and the radiator clanked all night. The custody battles with Troy were brutal. Every court date felt like a knife twisting deeper. Then came the day I saw their engagement announcement on Instagram. Troy and Monica, arm in arm, grinning like they'd won the lottery. Their posts called them the new power couple, flaunting their takeover of my business, my life. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if giving up was easier. Those were my darkest moments, when the weight of it all felt like it might crush me for good. What's the lowest point you've ever faced, and what kept you going? Share what gave you strength to continue. That first year after the betrayal was like walking through fog. I started therapy, sitting in a cramped office with a therapist named Ellen who smelled like lavender and had a knack for asking questions that cut deep. "What do you want to rebuild, Danielle?" she'd ask, her pen hovering over her notepad. I didn't know at first. I took freelance design gigs, small ones under the radar, working late nights at my kitchen table while the radiator hissed. I stayed out of the spotlight, let Monica and Troy have their moment, their smug Instagram posts about their new chapter. Meanwhile, Jack and I got closer. He'd sit with me, doing his homework, cracking jokes to make me smile. We'd cook cheap pasta dinners, laughing over burnt sauce. Slowly, I was rebuilding, not just my life, but me. I was getting ready for something bigger, even if I didn't know it yet. Sometimes the best revenge is rebuilding yourself first. Have you ever had to rebuild your life from scratch? What was your approach? Then came that afternoon, the one that changed everything. I was in my apartment, folding laundry, the TV humming in the background. My phone buzzed, a voicemail from an unknown number. I almost didn't listen, but something made me press play. A man's voice, all business, came through. "Miss Walker," he said, "this is regarding the change in Monica's marital trust and the financial clause you requested." My heart stopped. Monica's marital trust? I wasn't Monica. They'd called the wrong Walker. I played it again, pacing the room, my socks sliding on the worn linoleum. Monica was making legal moves, big ones, and they thought I was her. I didn't call back. Not yet. I needed to think, to let this sink in. If you accidentally received information that could help you get justice, would you use it? Where do you draw ethical lines? I knew I couldn't do this alone. I reached out to an old college friend, Carl, who'd become a private investigator. I met him at a diner, the kind with sticky tables and coffee that tasted like regret. "Danielle," he said, squinting at me over his glasses, "you sure you want to open this can of worms?" I slid my phone across the table, played the voicemail. His eyes lit up. "This is something," he said. I told him everything. Monica, Troy, the betrayal, the voicemail. We set ground rules. Dig quietly, find out what Monica was hiding, and don't tip them off. I kept my emotions in check and played it smart. This wasn't about revenge yet, it was about understanding the game. When seeking justice, is it better to act quickly on emotion or take time to plan strategically? What's your approach to conflict? Carl worked fast. Within weeks, he had details on Monica's marital trust. It was a legal maneuver to protect her and Troy's assets they'd stolen from me. He found more. Bank accounts I didn't know about, transfers disguised as business expenses. Monica had a pattern, slipping in and out of legal loopholes like it was her job. They weren't just sitting on what they'd taken, they were still scheming, moving money, covering tracks. I sat in my apartment, papers spread across the table, the weight of it hitting me. They hadn't stopped. They were still stealing, still building their empire on my ruins. Have you ever discovered that someone's betrayal was even worse than you initially thought? How did you handle the expanding scope of deception? I had a choice to make. I could let it go, keep rebuilding quietly, let them win. Or I could fight. I thought about Jack, the way his face crumpled when he found those messages. I thought about my reputation, shredded in our small town, and the clients who'd turned their backs. Monica and Troy weren't just hurting me, they'd keep hurting others, anyone who got in their way. I stood in my tiny living room, staring at a photo of Jack and me at the mountain house, back when we were whole. That's when I decided. If they thought their betrayal was over, they were about to learn what it feels like to lose everything. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a strategist, and I was ready to play. What's the moment you decided to stop being a victim and start fighting back? Tell me about your turning point. With Carl's help, I started building my case, piece by piece, like assembling a puzzle in the dark. We met in his cluttered office, the air thick with cigarette smoke and old coffee. He'd spread out financial records, legal documents, emails, proof of Monica and Troy's schemes. "They're sloppy," Carl said, tapping a stack of papers. "But they're deep in it." We found bank statements showing transfers I never authorized, contracts with forged signatures. Monica's vulnerabilities showed up too, her impulsive spending, her shaky credit. Then there was Troy. Carl uncovered his side deals, skimming profits from our firm to fund his new life with Monica. Every document was a brick in the wall I was building. I wasn't just gathering evidence. I was arming myself. When building a case against someone who wronged you, what evidence do you prioritize? What's been most effective in your experience? I made my first move carefully, like stepping onto thin ice. I called the lawyer's office from a burner phone, my hands sweaty as I dialed. "This is Monica Walker," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I have questions about the trust." The receptionist patched me through, and the lawyer didn't hesitate. "The marital trust amendment is set for next month's hearing," he said, rattling off details about assets I'd never heard of. He thought I was her, spilling dates, account numbers, even a clause about protecting the estate. I scribbled it all down, my heart racing. They were planning something big, and I'd just gotten a front row seat. Is it acceptable to use deception against people who deceived you first? Where do you draw the line on fighting fire with fire? Word got back to Monica fast. Carl had a contact who overheard her at the lawyer's office, frantic, demanding to know who'd been asking questions. "Someone's onto us," she told Troy, her voice sharp over a tapped call Carl managed to get. She called the lawyer 3 times that day, her paranoia spiking. Troy wasn't happy. "You're making this into drama," he snapped, his irritation crackling through the line. I could almost see them in their fancy new office, Monica pacing, Troy rubbing his temples. Their perfect partnership was starting to fray, and I hadn't even shown my hand yet. Have you ever watched someone who wronged you start to panic when consequences approached? How did it feel? I decided it was time for a warning shot. I sent Monica a message from an anonymous email, short and vague. Someone's looking into your trust. They know what you did. Within hours, my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen, and I let it go to voicemail. Danielle, she said, her voice all honey and fake tears. I miss you. Can we talk? I hate how things ended. I called her back, playing along, my voice soft, like I might actually forgive her. Maybe we could meet, I said, letting her think I was open to reconciliation. She rambled about misunderstandings, but I heard the fear underneath. She was scared, and I was just getting started. When someone who betrayed you tries to reconcile because they're scared, how do you respond? Have you ever played along strategically? Monica started leaning on Troy, pushing him to fix this, according to Carl's reports. Their late-night calls got heated. You said this was foolproof, she hissed in one recording. Troy shot back, you're the one who can't keep it together. Their empire was wobbling, and I watched from the shadows, my little apartment now a war room of notes and plans. Every move I made was calculated, every step bringing me closer to unraveling them. They were about to learn that their perfect little empire was built on sand. What's more satisfying? Immediate revenge or watching your enemies slowly realize they're trapped? Share your preference and why. I knew I couldn't take on Monica and Troy alone, so I started building my team. First, I met with a family law attorney, Sarah, in her sleek downtown office, all glass and polished wood. You've got a case, she said, flipping through Carl's documents, her eyes sharp. Next, I brought in a financial crime specialist, a guy named Marcus who talked fast and smelled like peppermint gum. He pointed out every illegal move Monica and Troy made, from forged contracts to hidden accounts. I also reached out to old clients, ones who ditched me after Monica's smear campaign. Over coffee at a corner diner, I showed them the truth. Some apologized, others offered to testify. Then there was Jack. One night, he sat me down, his jaw set. Mom, I saw those messages. I want to tell the court what I know. My heart broke and swelled at the same time. We were a small army, but we were ready. When seeking justice, how important is having the right team behind you? Who would you want in your corner? With Sarah and Marcus, we mapped out the legal strategy. The marital trust was a house of cards. Monica had used it to shield stolen assets, but the paperwork was sloppy, full of holes. We documented the business theft, every forged signature, every siphoned dollar. Sarah laid out our options, civil suits to reclaim what was mine, maybe criminal charges for fraud. Timing's everything, Marcus said, tapping his pen. We planned for maximum impact, coordinating with a detective who'd been sniffing around Troy's deals. I spent nights at my kitchen table, surrounded by legal pads and cold coffee, plotting every step. This wasn't just about me, it was about stopping them for good. If you had evidence of fraud against family members, would you pursue criminal charges or just civil recovery? What factors would influence your decision? Meanwhile, Monica and Troy were scrambling. Carl's contacts caught them trying to legitimize their stolen assets, rushing to backdate documents. They even pushed up their wedding, hoping a marriage certificate would lock in their legal protections. I heard they were selling off properties, including a condo I didn't even know they had, to hide the money trail. Their calls, intercepted by Carl, were a mess of blame. This is your fault, Troy growled. You said no one would look. Monica snapped back. You're the one who didn't cover our tracks. Their paranoia was eating them alive, and their so-called love was cracking under the pressure. Have you ever seen stress and guilt destroy a relationship that was built on betrayal? Do you think betrayers can ever truly trust each other? Everything was coming together. I met with Sarah, Marcus, and the detective in a conference room that smelled like stale donuts. We finalized the plan, file the civil suit, tip off law enforcement, and prepare for public exposure. Jack and I talked late one night, sitting on his bed, his old baseball trophies glinting in the lamplight. Are you scared, Mom? He asked. I nodded. But we're doing the right thing. He hugged me, and I felt his strength, his trust. The night before the big move, I stood in my apartment, staring at the evidence stacked on my table. Doubt crept in, could I really pull this off? Then I thought of Jack, of the mountain house, of everything they'd taken. Tomorrow, their perfect little world would come crashing down. Before taking major action for justice, do you get nervous or doubt yourself? How do you push through those final moments of uncertainty? The day of the legal ambush felt like stepping into a storm I'd been brewing for years. It started at 8 a.m. when process servers hit Monica and Troy with papers at their new office, all glass and ego. Fraud charges, asset recovery demands, the works, every dirty deal they'd made laid bare. Carl had tipped me off about their reactions. Monica's face went white, her coffee cup slipping from her hand. Troy just stared at the documents, muttering, "How did they get all this?" Their lawyers swooped in, grim-faced, warning them about criminal exposure. By noon, a court order froze the Mountain House, locking them out of my dream retreat. I was at Sarah's office when she got the call. "It's done," she said, her voice steady. I exhaled, feeling the weight shift, but not lift. When justice finally comes for people who wronged you, do you feel satisfaction or something else? Describe your emotions during your victory moment. By the next day, the story broke. Court documents hit public record, and the local news ran with it. Local power couple accused of fraud. Their Instagram posts, yacht trips, galas, that gaudy engagement ring, were now evidence of a lifestyle built on my stolen money. Social media lit up, old clients and friends piecing together the truth. At the grocery store, I overheard two women by the produce aisle. "Can you believe Monica did that to her own sister?" one said. The other shook her head. Danielle deserved better. The town's whispers had turned, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. When someone's dirty secrets are exposed publicly, do you feel bad for them or believe they deserve the humiliation? Share your thoughts on public consequences. Monica unraveled fast. Carl got hold of her calls to Troy, where she tried pinning it all on him. "You pushed me into this," she screamed, her voice cracking. She called our parents next, begging for help, spinning tales of being misled. But Mom and Dad, for the first time, saw through her. "You made your choices, Monica," Dad said, his voice heavy. "I heard she showed up at their house, mascara running, but they turned her away." Troy called off the engagement a week later, packing his bags while she sobbed. "You're toxic," he told her, slamming the door. Alone, exposed, she was crumbling under the weight of her own lies. Have you ever seen someone face consequences and try to blame everyone else? What's the most dramatic meltdown you've witnessed? The asset recovery came next, slow but relentless. The Mountain House was returned to me, the deed back in my name. I walked through it one morning, the familiar creak of the floorboards under my feet, the smell of pine drifting in. Business assets trickled back too, accounts unfrozen, contracts restored. The court awarded damages for my ruined reputation, a number that felt like validation more than money. Monica filed for bankruptcy, her lavish life reduced to a rented studio and maxed-out credit cards. Troy's professional license hung by a thread, his name now poison in the industry. I saw him once, at a gas station, his face hollow, avoiding my eyes. When you finally get back what was stolen from you, does it feel the same as it did before? How do you rebuild after getting justice? The real justice, though, wasn't the money or the house, it was the healing. Jack was there when the judge ruled in our favor. He grabbed my hand, his eyes bright. "You did it, Mom," he said, and I felt whole again. Old clients started calling, some with apologies, others with new projects. At a town fundraiser, people came up to me, offering hugs, kind words. "We should have believed you," one said, her voice soft. Monica, meanwhile, was a ghost, no friends, no family, just her own consequences. One evening, I stood on the Mountain House porch, the mist rolling over the ridges, Jack inside laughing with friends. I wasn't just back, I was stronger. Their betrayal had forged me into someone they'd never break again. What's more important to you, getting your stuff back or having people know the truth? Which type of justice matters most? Monica and Troy's fall was as brutal as it was poetic. Monica ended up working minimum wage at a diner, her designer heels swapped for non-slip shoes, her charm useless in a town that knew her truth. I saw her once, wiping tables, her eyes darting away when she spotted me. Troy's divorce practice tanked. Clients fled after the scandal broke. No one in town would touch them. Invitations dried up, their names whispered with disgust. The courts hit them with probation and restitution orders, forcing them to pay back what they could, which wasn't much. Their empire, built on lies, crumbled into dust. Watching them destroy themselves felt like justice, but it wasn't joy, it was closure. Do you believe people who betray family deserve forgiveness eventually, or are some betrayals unforgivable? Where do you stand? I threw myself into rebuilding. The design business came back stronger, with new clients and old ones returning, their apologies quiet but sincere. I set up an office downtown with big windows and a desk that didn't creak. Jack was healing too. He'd come home from school, proud, telling his friends, "My mom fought back and won." I started dating again, slowly, choosing people who valued honesty, who saw me for me. I also began helping others, fraud victims like I'd been, sharing my story at community meetups. The mountain house, now mine again, stood as my anchor. I'd sit on the porch, coffee in hand, the mist curling over the ridges, and feel like I'd survived a war. After going through something traumatic, but coming out victorious, how did it change who you are? Are you stronger, more cautious, or something else? Looking back, this whole ordeal taught me hard lessons. Trust is precious, but it's not blind, especially with family. Documentation saved me. Every email, every record was a lifeline. Betrayal shows you who people really are, stripping away their masks. And revenge? It's tempting, but justice is better. It's clean, it's lasting. I learned that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones you need to watch most carefully. Monica and Troy thought they could bury me, but their betrayal only made me sharper, stronger, unbreakable. What's the most important lesson you've learned about protecting yourself from betrayal? Share your advice for others. That one misdialed call didn't just crack their scheme open, it gave me back my life. Standing here now, with Jack thriving, my business growing, and the mountain house waiting for our next chapter, I feel a kind of peace I never thought possible. If you're facing betrayal, know this. You can fight back, you can rebuild, and you can win. If this story inspired you or taught you something, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of justice and redemption. What would you like to see in future videos? More revenge stories, legal advice, or something else? Let me know in the comments and I'll make it happen.